The views and opinions expressed on Smack My Pitch Up are those of the panelists and not those of GUI Network, their sponsors, or any of the properties mentioned. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is rated R for violence, language, and nudity. Well, it's a podcast, so you won't see the nudity. I just do it to make the guest uncomfortable.
In a world gone mad with unnecessary reboots, remakes, and sequels, only one podcast has the guts to make it even worse. This is Smack My Pitch Up.
Hello, geeks, and welcome to another episode of Smack My Pitch Up, the podcast that reboots, remakes, reimagines, sequels, cycles, and adapts some of your favorite and least favorite properties from film, television, comic books, and what have you. And tonight, this has been a property that has been floating around the Geeks Under the Influence network for years, trying to find what we want to do with it, to the point where there was a long-lost audio commentary that we did on this movie that we ended up watching the movie instead of actually commenting on it, so it never got released. This was a movie that we talked about doing a geekified, like, live event night thing with. We've talked to multiple people about being on Smack My Pitch Up for Empire Records, and one thing or another happened, or it just never came about. So this is something that I've been waiting for this podcast and just on the network, is a movie that I was so obsessed with that I watched virtually every single day. Around the time that I was 14, I had a TV in my room, and I just sat in Empire Records every single day. And that's what we're talking about tonight, is Empire Records. And with me to help dive into the absolute 1990s alternative teen ennui movie, Empire Records, we've got Katie from Nerdcropolis.
Well, Sinead O'Rebellion. Shock me with that deviant behavior. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I had no idea that there was such this epicness around Empire Records and the Geeks Under the Influence network. Like, I'm kind of honored to be your guest for this movie. I'm stoked.
So happy to have you. The times that we've had you on a number of the different shows, you've always come in with some real knowledgeability and excitement for the material. And the fact that how excited you were when bringing up Empire Records as an idea, I knew that was going to be a good time for both of us. So,
like you said, this was like a movie I watched countless times when I was a teenager. Like, such a formative experience for me. Like, everything about it is just perfect. I love it. It really is.
To the point where, because looking at it through an adult lens now, and thinking back to when I'm watching this movie at 14, be like, this movie gets me. You know,
it was so relatable.
I was just a little fucking sad boy, like teenager, just being like, oh, angst.
Oh my God. I thought Corey had like that blue sweater and the skirt with the combat boots. I was like, I can wear combat boots with skirts. This is epic. She has that great like half Jeep or whatever it is, that car that she picks up Renee Zellweger in. Is just amazing. And don't even get me started on like the biggest crush that I had on Lucas, Rory Cochrane. Like, that was my man. I loved him. I quoted him endlessly. Like, he's everything. Like, everyone loved AJ, but Rory was it for me. Like, I love Lucas.
AJ was fine and all. I had nothing against him personally, but like, he was not the one that I wanted to be friends with out of the dudes. Like,
not at all. He's bland.
Lucas was that guy that just commanded presence of the room, even when he didn't do a whole lot. Like, I can't tell you the number of times as a teenager I would say, in the immortal words of the Doors, the time to hesitate is through.
It's through. I love him. What's with today?
Oh, and you know what? For some reason, I thought that was the most fucking poignant thing I've ever heard when I was a child.
Same here. Oh, yeah. It's got to be Lucas and Mark are like the two dudes I want to be friends with, for sure.
Mark, you don't take that seriously because he's just like in his own little world, but he is such a blast to hang out with. You're like, he's just the best. He's a sweetie pie. He's great.
The dream scene where he gets eaten by Guar is just so fantastic. So, yeah, I love this movie.
It's a fantastic film, and if you have not had the chance to watch Empire Records, I thoroughly suggest doing so. There's a couple different versions. There was like, they called it like a remix edition or something, which is what inspiration was for the fun version on Smack My
Uh-huh.
Pitch Up to be called the remix version is because
Love it.
the DVD of Empire Records came with like an extended cut years ago.
gosh,
It was
see, I
called
don't
like
know
the
about
remix
this.
edition. And so like even the names of stuff on the show are inspired by Empire Records. So,
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
yeah.
Also, like if anyone like 1,000 years from now needed to go do some history project on the 90s, they could just listen to the soundtrack and get everything they need right there.
That's
it's got Gin Blossoms, Cranberries, like Better Than Ezra.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Dire Straits.
Got
it's
all
great.
the big hits. And I
Yeah.
did want to get into that as far as like the conversation about what it represented when it came out, and also what our versions are going to look like. Are we doing this in a modern time? Are we?
I know.
So there's so much that is 90s about this. So how do you make it work in a different era?
Yeah. But now's a good time. I mean, 90s aesthetic is like it right now. So
Well, I saw a meme recently that I'm very glad that we did a Blockbuster Video double episode on Geeks Under the Influence, because
Yes.
people are saying that just like time in the pandemic, nostalgia doesn't have any kind of like understanding of how long or short it's been since a thing.
Right.
So people went from like seeing their friends at the bar to missing Blockbuster Video.
just went real far, real
Real far
fast.
back.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a little bit of that with the record store as well, though record stores have survived better than a video store has.
Very true. Yes.
There is the longstanding record collector that keeps things alive for a good amount of.
I've even seen cassettes like being sold in different places now, which just boggles my mind.
The cassettes, I don't get that because it's not.
I don't
like
get it either.
It's not like it's better quality. Like
Right. Like a record is meant to sound better. Like cassette is just scratchy and
yeah,
you
and
gotta
if
rewind
you
it.
take care of the record and your record player, like that record will play for forever. But a tape, after about 100 listens or so, the ribbon starts stretching.
It's done. Yeah, it's all done.
So more power to anybody that's a collector of anything. That's fine.
Yes,
but
physical media. That's right.
I loved Empire Records because so I was the right age when it came out, and it spoke to me a little bit. But also, it had like an interesting cast of characters that they all got along for the most part, but had their own like interpersonal like challenges with one another.
Yes.
And it's one of those movies that you, even if it doesn't really fit, you shoehorn your friend group into it.
Absolutely.
To identify with everyone.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And one thing that I was looking at for my remake is that I did want to kind of shift on a little bit, was that I didn't want to shoehorn like I did when I was a teenager, like the cast of characters that you run into. I mean, you'd have the archetypes of the person.
Right.
But as far as like who you would be hanging out with, like I grew up in Southern California and my group of friends was relatively diverse when it came to like background and culture and the like. And looking at Empire Records,
no, not at all.
They met at a Gin Blossoms concert. Like there's
right, exactly.
They all live in the same like neighborhood. They go to the same school.
Yes.
Like it's very white.
It's very, very white.
Not like white,
indeed.
but white. Like
white. Yes.
Middle class, angsty, alternative kid.
I mean, Liv Tyler's character like is somehow going to Harvard. Like I feel like that's her trajectory. Like she's working at the record store, but she's going to be going to Harvard. That's her conflict.
That standard record store employee. Dynamic there. Record store or Harvard. That's tough for me.
Yes.
So that's something that I wanted to consider, is that looking at how the record stores are nowadays, where they're out of necessity, there are record stores that are specific to specific genres. Like even in town, we have a punk rock record store, we have a goth record store. Right. But in the bigger record stores, there is a much more diverse cast of like the employees based on their specializations, if they're into like blues or hip hop or punk rock and metal or whatever it is. And I wanted that to be represented a little bit better in my...
Yeah, because that's what you want in a record store. You want someone to be able to show you the really cool underground jazz album or whatever. You don't want just the same person showing you the Gin Blossoms album like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Like, have you all heard of Goo Goo Dolls?
I don't know. They were pretty underground. You may not know this band called Vertical Horizon. Big fan. And... they had a couple like minor hits, but they tried to keep it chill, keep it
low key,
keep it legit.
But But yeah, man. And record store culture, like obviously when we were teenagers was a huge deal, just like going into a Blockbuster or movie time or whatever.
Sure.
But it really was like show up, you may see someone you know, you may go with your friends, just perusing through the different CDs and all the records. Like that was such a thing. And it's cool to see that that's still like part of our culture. And like, even we're in Richmond, so Plan 9, they have a line out their store every time I go to Carytown, which is great. Yep. But it is more of a specific person maybe today who's seeking that out and wants to go and get into records versus I feel like, at least when I was a teenager, it was like almost hanging out at the mall. Like, oh, let's go to the record, let's go to Peaches again, Richmond reference, or Plan 9 again, and just like hang out and look at stuff and put on some headphones.
Sound hole or...
Yeah,
that's
right.
Old school, but that Soundhole I think was leaving Richmond around the time I got here in the early 2000s. Okay. So
yeah,
that I heard stories about that place though. That
yes,
it was the place.
But whatever, Sam Goody,
Yep.
It's any store where you just want to peruse all those titles. So yeah, I agree with you. There's a different type today, and there's got to be that representation of the different record store employees for sure.
Also, I love, and it wasn't really, it was played with a little bit at Empire Records, but whenever I went into a record store to buy, because I do have vinyl, I have collected vinyl a little bit. There was always a moment, especially when I was younger. Now I don't care, but when I was younger, the look on the cashier's face or the record store guy's face has gone through like, oh, nice, as he sees something you picked up, like, oh, that's a good one.
And that scene with Warren in Empire Records where they're like rap, metal, rap, Whitney Houston,
right?
Like they have that judgment, and you just do not want to be judged by the record. And if you got that seal of approval, like if you got up to the cashier and they were like, "Nice choice," or "Wow, that's a great album," you're like, Yes. Like I belong. I'm so cool. This is great.
Well, because back then we considered, the record store guy as the person that was able to get this coveted job.
Yeah.
That everyone meant that they had like a mental Rolodex of music that far surpassed ours. And so for them to be like, oh, wow, okay, you know what? You know some things about music was like
things.
you were in. Exactly. And so it was always nice to get that feeling, even though looking back, and it would be like some basic record that everybody needed to have, like, the Cheap Trick Live at Bukadan or Hugh's Quadrophenia, and they'd go like, oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like essential.
Yeah, this is like a platinum album. It's not like some underground thing that, like, yeah, I'm in the know, but... Right. So for Empire Records, are you, for your plot, for your overarching tone, are you keeping it as kind of a 90s period piece? Are you pulling it into the modern day?
I did bring it into the modern day. And then I really did think about what I was just kind of talking about, how I feel like record store culture is still very much a thing, but maybe not as much for like teenagers as a whole. Right.
Sure.
So I was thinking like, what is that today? Like everything's virtual. Like people spend all day on their phones. Like, what is it that like the kids, the youths are into? And I couldn't think of anything for high school age, but then I took it to like, because if I remember correctly, most everyone in Empire Records, the characters were assumed to be in high school, right? Like I said, Corey was going to Harvard, maybe a little bit older.
I think a couple of them were in high school. A couple were like early 20s, like
early 20s. Yeah.
What's his face? Deb's boyfriend, the musician.
Yes.
He was like Burko. Yeah. He was early 20s. It was pretty clear.
He's so cool. So I took it to that early 20s place, like holistically, and I've changed the location from, which might be sacrilegious, and I'm sorry, but I'm doing it. So I actually changed it from Empire Records to Empire Brewing.
Oh, jeez.
Because I just feel like brewery culture is obviously such a thing.
Sure.
And I can see some local brewery like trying to be snatched up by, Stone or Anheuser-Busch or whatever.
Sure.
And this group of ragtag employees like trying to save it. And I could see these characters like hanging out at the brewery in different settings. So that is how I've switched it up.
Okay.
So all the characters are in their early 20s, and they're hanging out at the brewery. And then instead of, I don't know if we should get this far into it, but instead of Rex Manning, who is obviously like a quintessential character.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Sexy Rexy. Oh, Rexy, you're so sexy. But so I was like, what is that today? and it's influencers, like it's like YouTubers or TikTokers, and like I'm 34, like I'm not cool, but so I like spent time researching like, all right, who's a cool dude or whatever influencer. So I took it to that place where like some influencers in town, they're coming to the brewery, like people pick up on it, and they that's like their Rex Manning day.
Sure. Nice. Okay. I definitely kept it record store. I didn't even consider going another way, which I'm like, damn.
Why should you, right?
No,
I mean, it's so
like,
perfect.
I like that though, especially a brewery and a record store are two places where you're pretty much guaranteed to run into somebody with a handlebar mustache. Like it's
Yeah. Oh, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
So, for me, I wanted to kind of carry on a conversation that was discussed in the shortlist episode I did on Smack My Pitch Up about the death of the video store and the last day of a Blockbuster that people working there. And also our conversation from Blockbuster Video, and carry that over into the medium of record stores where they're kind of hanging on as a niche interest from record collectors and the like. And they have, used movies and CDs and stuff, but a lot of that stuff's gone digital. And I wanted to kind of approach Empire Records with that same, because there's a doom and gloom to Empire Records that it's going to be moved over into a Music Town.
Yes, Music Town. That's exactly right. They get the aprons. Music Town.
I wanted to, not so much because there isn't really anything that follows the record store. It's not that this is an indie record store that gets turned into a chain record store. No chain record stores really exist that much anymore.
Right.
So
it's like you might find some CDs in Target or Best Buy. They sell records at like Urban Outfitters. Like,
sure.
That's where you see more records now than you do anything else. But you're right. There's no like conglomerate record store.
So I thought about maybe having a conversation that is heavily in rotation in the Richmond area regarding not just gentrification, but the sprawl of VCU into the hipper.
I love that.
The hipper areas of town that didn't have a lot of chain restaurants, didn't have a lot of that kind of stuff, and then just the influence of VCU. Those chain restaurants are moving in. The school is buying buildings.
Yeah.
And so Empire Records in this version is being pressured to sell, and you can either have it to the college, or I thought just to really put a real button on it, Panera Bread.
Oh,
it's gonna take
damn
over
the man.
Spot. Yeah, right.
Save the empire.
No shit. Yeah, just that visceral, like, oh no. Do
no
not.
shade to Panera. Shout out to the broccoli cheddar soup. But like, I would be so mad if they took over this great record store.
Right.
Yes.
So that's kind of the focus, is that instead of Music Town, you have like a Panera Bread.
Yes, that's great. I think that's great. And I know I'm being Richmond specific here, but I felt that way in Carytown's, like our local shopping district, when that Capital One coffee cafe came in and took over this great antique store. So it's sort of the same vibe. It's like, ugh. So I love that. That's a great idea.
Well, that happened both in the Fan and in Carytown. In Carytown, there was a U-Crops, but that's like a local grocery store, and that changed into a Martin's, and then Publix moved in. Now I think there's like a Chipotle and a Panera Bread, and all these chain stores are moving into this area that was all
literally what you're describing. Yeah,
all boutique shops. Same thing happened in the Fan, that over near the school there's like Waffle Houses, and there was like a mini Walmart, tiny.
It's like a Sonic now. Yeah,
there's all sorts of these little chain places now. When it was all these little boutique restaurants and stores, and that got kind of pushed out. So the record store is very representative of that, of the chains taking over, small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And gentrification obviously is such a, current topic. So that fits really well. So you're taking it to modern times.
Modern
is what
times,
I'm gathering.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely having, this, the characters in it, when it comes to the sprawl of the school and like the chain businesses that are moving in, also the conversation about gentrification, there's going to be varying levels, just like with Empire Records, varying levels of response to it. People that are like militantly against it, people that are just kind of like,
Yes.
And so for your real version, let's dig in. Who do you have for director for your real version?
So my director is also the person who I have playing Joe's character. So in my version, Joe is a woman. So J-O instead of J-O-E. And I picked Olivia Wilde because Olivia Wilde did Booksmart, and I love Booksmart. And I want to see her direct more shit. And I also feel like she would play the manager trying to oversee this group of just misfits really well. And I love her. So I picked Olivia Wilde.
Perfect. I had Olivia Wilde directing something relatively recently, like in the last couple episodes, I think.
Yeah.
I love Booksmart. It was not directed at me, and I still loved the shit out of it.
It's just great. I love it. And I think
good.
she would go there with this and just really do a wonderful job. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. For my version, I also did the actor that played Joe is the director as well.
Oh, nice.
And this was kind of a hard consideration because this is not somebody that has directed a feature film before.
Okay.
Has been a showrunner, has done a lot of writing for shows, and has directed some in the series as well as music videos. But it is
nice.
Somebody that very specifically has the experience of being both an actor and a musician. And Joe's character being a former like drummer.
Yes.
And that's such a part of his character.
Don't touch Joe's drums.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like it's really important to have somebody that not only plays that character, but is informed by their experience as a musician on the tone of this record store. This, former minorly successful musician that has, some success running a record store, but then that threat of like the last little bit of his music career in this record store is being like threatened. And so just the real fear that comes from that. And I thought it'd be very interesting to see what Donald Glover would do.
I love that.
Yeah. He's bound to be a future EGOT holder. I mean, he's
has to be
mega talented in a number of different ways. He hasn't been behind the camera a lot. But what he's done with Atlanta as an executive producer, as a writer, and also the episodes that he's directed, I think that he deserves a chance to dive in and get a shot. And I think
let's empower him.
Yeah.
Go direct something, Donald. Like you will rock it. He's such a Renaissance man, at least to me. Like I feel like he could literally do anything and be really good at it, or do something really interesting or innovative with it, or just like excel at it. So I think that's a great idea. And he's, Joe, if you're being a purist, Joe was like in his mid to late 30s, and Donald and Olivia Wilde are both in that age range. So I think that's an excellent choice.
Yep. Now, the slight difference, and I'll get into it when I dig in, is that there is some slight differences to the characters and their relationships with one another, and I'll get into that more specifically when we dig in. But the age range is somewhere between like early 20s into like mid 30s for the characters. So there isn't as much of an age gap between Donald Glover's playing Joe and the other characters. So much so that like fatherly kind of vibe isn't so much there as it is more of a just like the friend that is trying to keep their cool thing that everybody gets to share afloat while nobody else is taking it seriously.
Yes.
Which I sometimes relate to when I'm trying to herd cats on Geeks Under the Influence and everybody's just like, I'm like, no,
you are Joe.
Yeah, right? So it's one of that, like, everybody loves it. Everybody wants to do their part, but there's always got to be that one person that's like, okay, hey, pay attention. You got to pay attention.
Got to keep it moving.
So, all right. So I want to hear this Olivia Wilde pitch that you got here. Who are we casting? Who's playing what roles?
So, okay. What I was really thinking about when I was selecting this cast is how like amazing is it? Every single person, maybe with the exception of AJ, Warren, Burko, whatever, every single person in this movie like went on to have like a really great acting career.
There's very well-known actors in this.
Crazy, but they were all like, this was 1995, so I don't think any of them were like really, really well known. Like they've had some titles and some credits under their belts, but they were kind of emerging. Yep. Would you agree? Yeah,
I would fully agree. You got, I think Liv Tyler was in one or two of her dad's music videos.
Right, the music videos. Right, exactly. Like
Renee Zellweger hadn't done really anything at that point.
Nothing. Yeah, maybe Texas Chainsaw, right? But I don't know what year that came out, The Next Generation. But Robert Tunney, of The Craft fame, The Craft came out that next year, and she had a great career too. So the woman who played Deb. Mm-hmm. So I just thought about it from that lens. So if you hear me talk about any of these actors and you have no idea who the fuck they are, I'll tell you where they're from, where you've seen them. And then just think about it from that lens. Like I was looking for actors that have a little bit of chops under their belt. They're like on the verge, because I want that for them. This is going to be the movie, this reboot that accelerates their career into stardom. So I believe
You're trying to change lives with this remake here.
I'm changing lives with it. This is their break. Okay, so Lucas is my favorite character.
Real quick, you are such a sweetheart that even in your fake casting for a fake remake of something that will never happen, you're just like, you know what, kids got to get their start somehow. If I can give them their opening to like make it into the world, then I'm gonna do it. Damn it!
I am manifesting this energy. That's what's happening.
No, that's amazing. I love it. I fully love it. That's great.
Okay. So Lucas, obviously Rory Cochrane. I just had the most like big. I can't even describe to you. I when I was growing up, I loved men that looked like they could be serial killers. Like I just loved them.
Okay.
Like they were really dark. They had like bright eyes, like sort of a Dahmer effect. So I just looked for that look. And there's this actor who he played the lead role actually in Ready Player One, which people have a lot of thoughts about.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But he did a great job, and he just has this look. Like he has a brooding look to me, where he could possibly I just feel like he would play an eccentric character really well. So his name is Ty Sheridan, but he was also there was another movie I saw Scout's Guide. He was in Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
And I believe
great in that movie.
I believe he was in one of the Jurassic World movies as well.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
That sounds right. And I just think he's again one of those on the verge actors. Mm-hmm. He's got credits, but he's got diverse credits under his belt a little bit.
And he's not a name yet per se.
He's not a name yet. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm all about.
Yeah.
This is it for him. So he's my Lucas. You want me to roll through mine?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I'm excited. So in my reboots, the characters are kind of taking on you mentioned like, it's not like you're translating it exactly, but they sort of take on that persona a little bit.
A little bit.
So I am staying a little true to that in terms of what their character would be like. So the next one I have is AJ. And AJ, obviously, in the original one was like the quote unquote, like artsy pretty boy, like didn't know what he wanted in life, was trying to pursue Corey. Corey was in love with Rex Manning. So I picked this guy. I don't know how like into rom-coms you are, but I am. Like, yes, I have a horror blog and a horror podcast, but I have a soft spot for a great rom-com. and Noah Centineo, if you're a Netflix rom-commer, he has been into all the boys I've loved before, which has a sequel, 2 sequels. You need to watch them all.
I'm from my girlfriend. I am very familiar with the series. I've not watched it, but I've been told that it's fun. You'd like it. I'm like, yeah.
I'll come watch it with her.
Okay. Don't say it if you don't mean it, because she would.
Oh, I'm in for sure. I love all of them. And he's a great leading guy. And I think he could play that sort of like dopey a little. And he's also, okay, this is going to sound shady, but I'm going to say it anyway. Mm-hmm. He can also kind of fade into the background a little bit.
Okay.
Which I think AJ does. Like,
very much. Yep.
Like
absolutely.
He's kind of just a little bland. Like his character is, I love him. Sorry, AJ. But that's what I'm bringing to this character. He's a similar thing. He wants Corey. Corey's obsessed with, in my version, it's this influencer TikTok person. Mm-hmm. They do not get together in my story. Corey moves on to much brighter pastures. She leaves AJ behind. The next one I have is Deb. So Deb, also awesome character. I love her. She goes through a journey. She's kind of the bitch at the beginning, but she turns into one of my favorite characters. She's awesome. Played by Robin Tunney in the original. So for her, I went with this actor named Hunter Schafer. And Hunter Schafer is a badass. She's a trans activist, sued the whole state of North Carolina for one of the bathroom bill situations. But now she's on Euphoria, that HBO show with Zendaya.
I have watched a number of those episodes, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
And she's awesome in it. She's fantastic. She plays opposite of, I already said it, Zendaya. And she's stunning, like super beautiful, which I think Deb is too. And I think she would just be a badass.
Oh, yeah.
As Deb is. Love her.
Oh, she fully kills it in Euphoria.
Yeah, she's great, right? So for Corey, I have Yara Shahidi, who is the oldest daughter in Blackish.
Okay, I know I knew the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like completely stunning and gorgeous, as is Liv Tyler. But in my version, like I said, she doesn't end up with AJ. Like she doesn't end up with the influencer either, because she figures out who she is and what her power is and potential. And she she's home. So in my version, the kids are in their early 20s. So like she's home from college, trying to figure out what she wants to do next. And she ends up like leaving and starting her own brewery in mine. Like she gets her chops from Olivia Wilde, and then she goes off and starts her own.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I have Mark. Mark, I got Finn Wolfhard just because Finn Wolfhard is goofy and, from Stranger Things.
Oh, he would have so much fun with that role too.
Yeah, I think so too. He did so great in it. So I had to give Finn some love. Gina is also a already well-known actor. But I think that she's someone that I don't want to get pigeonholed. And that's Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And again, I think just like the Harry Potter kids, right? You don't always want to be known and stuck in that Harry Potter. So I'm giving this is again in my fake movie, giving Maisie like her break into other titles. And I know she's played other things too, but I think she would be cool as Gina.
Nice.
Let's see, who else do I got? Rex Manning. So again, I'm 34. I don't know anything about TikTok culture, but I like literally Googled like who's cool on TikTok. And if you have any younger listeners or anyone that's in the TikTok, I'm so sorry. But so there's this guy named Cameron Dallas, and he's supposed to be very popular. So that's my Rex Manning.
Nice. Okay.
And then the last one, I did have Warren and Burko. And Burko, so obviously I'm a horror fan, and you remember the woman from Orphan, Isabel Furman, the little girl who played Orphan?
Oh, right.
She like looks like Burko now. Like she's beautiful, but like she just looks like she would be a great Burko.
Okay.
And her and Deb are in a relationship.
Nice.
Finally, who'd I say? Warren. Warren is Wyatt Olaf, who played Stanley in It. Had to bring my horror.
Oh, okay.
Peeps into this. So
yeah,
that's my. Oh my gosh, last one. You remember Rex Manning's publicist, Jane?
Yeah, ended up with Joe. Ended up with Joe, yeah.
Yeah, so played by Debbie Mazar, Mazar, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm obsessed with her. I love her. She is awesome. She's on this show, which I feel like I could also watch with your girlfriend, called Younger, which is on Lifetime.
I think she's familiar and has also told me that it's not that bad and I would probably like it. Yeah.
It's got Hilary Duff. It's great. But Debbie Mazar is on that show, and she's still like stunningly beautiful. She's almost 60 years old. So Jane is still Debbie Mazar. And she's hooking up with Olivia Wilde by the end of this.
Nice. Not mad about that either.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that's my cast.
It's funny that you definitely, not a ton of gender switching, but you did a couple that the like in more important relationship, or some of the more important relationships are lesbian relationships.
Yes.
And I did similar, but I actually changed who the romances were connected to.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear.
Because one of the things that bothered me, after watching so many times with Empire Records, was that AJ and Corey's relationship.
I know. I just hate AJ.
Non-existent.
Sorry.
Yeah, like AJ's just kind of the kid that's there.
Right.
Like, he's perfectly nice. Everybody gets along with him great. He's unproblematic. There's nothing worrisome about the character. He's not threatening,
right?
But also, he's just kind of like an artist dude that's busy like doing his own thing. And then he's just like, I love this girl. I don't want her to move to Harvard, and this makes me sad. And then he just gives up on all of his stuff to go to Harvard with her at the end.
What?
Even though they're not together, it's a weird choice. So
very weird.
I thought it would be more interesting to actually have two of the women that have been friends be involved
Love it.
After the Rex Manning's ordeal. Let me get into my my casting here. So this is Donald Glover. So for Joe Reeves, Donald Glover, of course, as that character, he's more in the he's more in the style of music, all 18 different genres that Donald Glover does, as opposed to like a drummer type. So he blues and soul and hip hop and all that stuff. So
yeah.
And we've got Lucas, and I couldn't not, once it got into my head to cast this person, I went, I'm having trouble thinking of anybody else, not because this person is anything like the original Lucas, but because I would really love to see the dynamic with Donald Glover in these roles. And also like, he could definitely be like the weirdo turtleneck kid. 100% could fully do that. Excited. Is Danny Pudi, who played Abed in Community.
Oh,
and,
nice.
And was
yes.
best friends with Donald
I
Glover.
love that. Yeah.
And so they had such amazing like friend chemistry on screen with Community. And from what from what I've heard, they are actually like real life friends.
Oh,
and,
that'd be
like,
hysterical then to like watch them bicker and fight and be like, you know, Lucas, go sit on the couch all day.
Well, and that's where the dynamic is a little different. That Joe isn't really a father figure to Lucas in this version. It's more like they kind of grew up together. And,
right.
And Joe is the one that actually did something, whereas Lucas just never really got his shit together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Joe kind of taking Lucas on for the ride. Like, yeah, you can work here at the store and like, you know, crash at my place, and kind of taking care of his buddy who's just kind of a slacker.
We all have one. We all have that buddy.
Absolutely.
You got a couch for them forever.
Forever. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's Danny Pudi. And so we got the Donald Glover, Danny Pudi party together again. And I'm very excited about that. Then AJ, I wanted someone immensely charming and attractive and like interesting and could play like the weirdo artist a little bit, but still come off as like, you know, friendly and everybody gets along with. And this gentleman's worked with Donald Glover on Atlanta. He was also, I mean, he's blowing up super hard right now, and for good reason. Everything I've seen him in, he's incredible. From Atlanta, Sorry to Bother You, Judas and the Black Messiah, Knives Out. Lakeith Stanfield is,
oh my God, and
fantastic.
He's gorgeous.
He's attractive in that like approachable, attractive way.
Yes.
Not like chiseled, but like
no,
like real person hot.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think he's so sexy. Yeah.
So
nice choice.
Great actor. I think he could. There isn't a lot with the AJ role, and of course it wouldn't be the exact same script, but I think you could do something with it if you take the romance angle away from AJ.
Yeah.
And you just make him as the weirdo artist guy that everyone gets along with.
Just lean into that.
And him just trying to figure out what he wants to do if this record store closes. As he's an artist, he doesn't have any kind of skills.
Right.
Besides being an artist and being into music. So that's his arc.
I don't hate that AJ. I like that AJ.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
Much.
Like the other AJ is just this weird lovelorn kid that's just like, oh, move because I like you. No. Give AJ some gravity. Like, give him his own independence. Give him
some depth. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got Deb. And Deb is actually going to be the love interest for Corey.
I love that. Yes.
That Deb is going through her own shit, and it's going to be, you know, like deals with depression and all these issues and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Corey, of course, is in this, you know, well, pansexual or whatever verbiage you want to attach, and is openly so, and you know has a family that's super accepting about that. Deb is in a very different dynamic.
Okay,
so,
she's trying to find herself.
To find herself, and so it's not the same way in Empire Records where AJ was kind of pushing his love on Corey until she like was in a vulnerable place, and then she's like, okay, cool, well, I'll make out with you then.
I'll fall into your arms now. Yeah.
This is more that because Deb was so vulnerable in her role, I feel like there's a dual vulnerability that's happening. So there's not as much of a sense of somebody taking advantage of a circumstance, you know?
No, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also like how you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Corey seems a little more confident, like a little more like she knows who she is. Her family accepts her. She's got that going for her and she can help like lift that up out of Deb.
Yeah. It's, she knows who she is, but she's just a little gun shy about life, you know, just isn't the one to jump head first into anything. And is just kind of a little timid to do stuff, but knows who she is, just doesn't really know how to engage it, you know?
Oh, that sex would be so hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when I get to who's playing Corey, which next, so the Deb is, first off, is Zazie Beetz.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
That is Domino from Deadpool 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she's also in Atlanta as well. And,
hot.
And yeah, gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. And then Corey, was technically in Solo, a Star Wars movie with Donald Glover as the voice of the robot that had a weird kind of relationship with Lando.
Okay.
We've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge as Corey. And yeah, she is such a good writer and so smart and she's so brilliant. Charming. Yeah, and beautiful. And if you have not had the chance to see Fleabag, it's series.
It's epic.
It's epic. It's her just basically being like really into sex and feeling like a depraved, like gross weirdo half the time, and the other half the time being like, fuck it, And
right, but like out of this world funny. It's
so
such
funny.
good writing.
Yeah, great writing. And there is conversation about there being a Donald Glover, Phoebe Waller-Bridge TV series based on Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh,
So
okay.
I'm hoping that goes down, but so they are familiar with each other from Solo. They have other projects working. I think he would want to cast her in whatever, because I've watched award ceremonies where he's talking at length about how much he adores her as an artist and as a person.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good fit there.
She's fabulous.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
Then we've got Gina, and it is important to have a female character in this that isn't attached to anyone specifically, but is having that conversation about like ownership of your own body and your choices to be
sexual independence.
Yeah, sexually independent. And that conversation has evolved so much from when this movie first came out.
1995.
Yeah. That I wanted to have a different angle where it's not, for a lack of a better term, it's minorly so in the movie, but slut shaming.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and Gina's character was like really like okay with herself in that regard. I don't remember her thinking, well, until it was like she wore the apron and Corey called her a slut. She like didn't see herself as that, I don't think.
Yeah.
So there was some slut shaming there.
Yeah, and then when everything blows up and she's like, are you gonna screw every guy?
What are you gonna do?
Tits fall down and nobody wants you anymore. And so just remove a little bit of that. I don't think that's a necessary conversation to have anymore. I think it's more important to have a strong female character that is an owner of their own sexuality. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could still be Gina that messes around with Rex Manning, and then it's their friendship that that they have to focus on. And why'd you fuck the dude that I was thinking about fucking?
Right.
And the one thing that I leaned on as a reference to that being able to be done is Funny People.
Okay.
Where it's that scene where it's Jason Schwartzman and he's like, I'm going to have sex with a neighbor unless you have sex with her in like 2 weeks. And then Seth Rogen doesn't, so he has sex with a neighbor.
Like, just do it. Yeah. Like, this is what's going to happen.
I think if it's that kind of thing where if you just kind of put it where, hey, if you don't, I'm gonna. Somebody's got to bang Rex Manning.
She's like radically candid. I love that.
Like, I'm putting off banging Rex Manning because I know how much you want to bang him, but like, I also want to bang him. So if you're not going to bang him, I'm going to bang him.
Yeah.
You put it that angle, and it's not so much this weird spite thing so much as like, girl, you got to shit or get off the pot.
I love it.
Yeah.
3 cheers for open and honesty.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and then of course there's a little anger, but the anger is more directed about Phoebe Waller-Bridge being too scared to go for it. Then
goes back to what you were saying.
Then actually about her friend screwing the dude. Like,
yes,
the intention is different.
And then realizes she actually loves Deb or wants to like be with Deb.
Well, I think that's the conversation where she finds out like what was happening to Deb, and then she, Rex was always like this thing that was this dreamy, wanna be with this dude that I was like in love with forever. Deb is this person that she's had kind of mixed feelings about as far as romantic versus friendly.
Yeah.
And then so when it comes out that Deb is dealing with some pretty serious shit, that that's when I just thought about the funeral scene. Deb wants to know what it feels like to die. We're gonna show her, and then all the sweet things. And that can be the kind of moment where she lets slip a little bit more, that she cares a little bit more about Deb than was originally thought of. And it kind of wakes Deb up to the idea. It's like, oh, wow, this is a person like I truly care for that like might be interested in that way about me. It's something I'm struggling with. And that's kind of the moment where there's a little bit of a wake up call for Deb. I
just need a hot makeout scene in the break room. Can you just give me that?
I mean, I'm cool with it. That's fine.
Perfect.
AJ will be up fixing the sign like you did at the end, but he's not making out with anybody. He's cool. He's just being a weirdo artist. So yeah, they can make out in the break room at the same time.
Perfect.
Yes. And then, so for Gina, that's going to be Natalie Dormer.
Okay.
And if you're not familiar, she was in Game of Thrones, and also she was one of the characters in the later Hunger Games as well.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I think that's and then Mark. Mark is the last one that I cast. You got to have a Mark, just a big weirdo. And for this one, he's going to be like the former drug addict, hardcore punk, tatted out Mark version, where he works at a record store. He knows front to back on like punk and metal and underground music.
Yeah. And
he's in some weird experimental noise band now that nobody really fucking likes. And
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you want kind of a fuckboy to play that role to like properly fill it out. And I can't think of a better actor that's also a fuckboy than Shia LaBeouf. So,
yeah, that's perfect.
yeah.
That's perfect.
So that is my Donald Glover directed take on Empire
I'd go
Records.
see it. I'm in.
And the whole thing. Oh, and the Rex Manning thing. It's actually I didn't name specifically, and I was trying to think of a artist that is somewhat was somewhat successful back in the day, like, but isn't as much anymore. And it would be something that Corey would be like, oh my God, like I was obsessed with that one album that got kind of like minorly popular, kind of a Bismarcky era, level like of fame that Joe knows from his minor stint of like moderate success of being on tour and kind of wrangling into him. And actually like worked with him in a group back in the day. And so he actually makes the call to get the Rex Manning character to come into the store to draw.
That makes sense. Okay. That makes sense because you don't have obviously like record signings. That's not a thing today. So for Donald Glover to like know someone and like come here to my store, that makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah. But also this person has gotten like significantly more successful than him over the years. And now granted his biggest days are behind him, but he's still like a popular person.
Like a name.
Name. So it's really hard for Joe to make that call and get him to come to the store. And he's kind of like swallowing his pride a little bit. And so when all the shit goes down with Gina and Corey is flipping out and it's this whole ordeal and he's like, Jesus. And his, old bandmate is being just a dick about it. He has every reason to stop holding his tongue anymore and kick him the fuck out. Like,
yes,
you think you're better. You're not. You're just an asshole person, So that is
Lachey. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Perfect. Donald Glover and Nick Lachey back in the day. Yeah. All right. So those are our real takes. We're going to dig into our fun remix versions of Empire Records next. Now, for that version, what tonally are we talking here? Is it a comedy? Is it an action, a drama, horror? What are we doing?
We're going to go Empire Records horror. We're going straight gore. It's a Splatterfest B movie. There's just, everyone gets like, there's a maniac on the loose in the city. And the record store is almost like the Shaun of the Dead bar where everyone kind of hides out. And you're seeing it happen in real time. And then it's just complete splatterfest. Just gore everywhere, entrails. The records are covered with blood. It's just straight. You know me. I had to go there.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So it's just straight horror gore.
Just it's campy, fun splatterfest.
Campy, fun. Yeah.
Excellent. Absolutely. For mine, I am doing a straight up, like, not full musical.
Yes.
But those movies that are like musical adjacent where there's maybe one or two numbers in it, but it's like somebody on a stage singing a song that we all know already kind of deal. But it's very musically adjacent that there's scenes that are fully informed by the music that's playing in the background. And there's
certainly
scenes kind of like that in Empire Records where they're dancing to music. And so
they do the veto. They put in the record or the CD and then they can veto the track.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of like dance type stuff. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going that like, my director is Adam Shankman. If you're unfamiliar, you will be familiar with some of his choices. He directed Rock of Ages.
Nice.
What Men Want, Hairspray, the musical version, Bedtime Stories, Step Up, High Water, and was producer on a lot of the Step Up movies. He's directing Hocus Pocus 2, Disenchantment, and also directed The Wedding Planner. So
heavy hitter.
Ultra cheese, like cheesy as fuck movies he makes. And that's what I'm going for is like the High School Musical Step Up kind of musical deal with this, with just like actors/singers in here. And it's basically kind of the opposite of what Empire Records was talking about in the movie of like, don't sell out and become this like cleaned up version, be the dirty, nasty. This is the cleaned up version of Empire Records, the movie, where it's like, song and dance people in there, just like, and everything's super clean. And I feel like it's the NBC Live, like the Fox Live, how they have the live musicals. Right.
But much better because
kind of
better. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just totally missing the point of what Empire Records is talking about. And
nice.
Yeah.
I love it. My director is Adam Green from the Hatchet series.
Oh, nice. Adam Green
leaning
is
into it.
Yeah, just leaning into it. Super hard in. Okay. Well, then give me Adam Green. What do you got here for your cast?
All right. So Joe is obviously played by Bruce Campbell because there's just no one else. Like we're just taking him he's in his 50s. We're at a record store again, so we're not at the brewery. And Bruce was a part of a band back in the day, and now he is an impersonator.
Okay.
So I'm thinking Bubba Hotep, Bruce Campbell, where he doesn't have to be Elvis, but he like has random scenes where he just impersonates random rock stars, and much to the delight of his crew, he's just more wacky in this one.
I don't know if Bruce Campbell can pull off wacky. I don't know if we've ever seen that side
I don't know
of him
if you've ever like seen him do any of that, you know. My Corey is going to be Felissa Rose.
Okay.
Because why not? Again, I really believe that we need to give like our older women actors like screen time. Like I love any modern horror movie that has Felissa Rose or Barbara Crampton, because they're still super beautiful.
I follow them both on Twitter. Yeah. I love that. I'm all about empowering, especially like the scream queens of yesteryear. They need to be, and how much of a wonderful Easter egg is that for horror nerds?
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
And this is it. This is all-star horror cast. So just stay with me for a minute. So Deb is going to be played by Linnea Quigley, because why not?
Okay.
And then Gina will be played by Barbara Crampton, because she's blonde and beautiful and gorgeous. Lucas, he will be played by Kane Hodder.
Oh, Kane Hodder, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going with him. And then, okay, AJ, we've kind of talked about how I'm not a big fan of AJ, and how he's a little bland, and he's kind of like, I just don't like him. So I put Eli Roth as playing him.
Oh, that's amazing. That's perfect. Yeah, AJ is the guy that's just like, I don't get it. Like, I was totally nice to her. I don't know why she won't like me back. Like, where like romantic appreciation is earned, almost, that kind of attitude. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
He's not problematic, but he's definitely a big believer in nice guys finish last in the friend zone.
Yes, exactly. And then Mark is played by Bill Moseley. Because Bill Moseley is just the best at being wacky and insane.
Yeah, anybody that's seen Texas Chainsaw 2 knows that
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Am I missing anyone? I think I covered them. I had Jane, but I didn't have Jane in my remix.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I missed a few.
Oh, and Rex Manning is Henry Rollins, because why not?
That's amazing. Oh, fuck yes. I need to have Rollins in more stuff anyway, especially campy horror stuff.
Yes. And in Empire Records, the horror movie, like, you got to have a great scene where people are chucking records at your neck, and you're slicing necks with it. You're decapitating people with records. You got instruments that are going to be used as weapons. There's just so many possibilities.
Perfect.
So, yeah, straight Splatterfest.
You can totally even have like an homage to Shaun of the Dead and just like a box of vinyl that's being thrown at, Yeah,
and the soundtrack could be a major role in the horror movie version of Empire Records. Absolutely. It would have to be.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into it. That is a better choice than this terrible, like, Step
Is
Up.
Is it though? I'm really excited. I love Step Up.
Okay, so Joe Reeves, the older owner of the store and is the one kind of like overseeing all the stuff. You want somebody that's like, can be kind of a dick, but you still know that he like loves all these people that he's working with. And was in Rock of Ages, that was directed by this director. We've got Russell Brand.
Nice. That's perfect.
As Joe Reeves. Yeah, I think he for this version, I think that is the best choice there.
Yeah.
Then we've got for Lucas, just the weird kid. And if you look at a picture of him and then you put it next to a picture of Lucas from Empire Records, it's pretty fucking close. We've got Kier Gilchrist. If you're unfamiliar, he was in It's Kind of a Funny Story.
Oh, yeah, because I was like, that name sounds so familiar. Yeah,
he's also in a series called Atypical currently that's on Netflix. And he's able to play this kind of straight-faced character. I don't want to put any kind of terms on Lucas, but the way he behaved reminded me a little bit of Kier's character in Atypical, who is on the spectrum.
Yeah.
That it's just kind of like in your own little world and just kind of vibrating at your own frequency a little bit.
Yes.
And I know that Kier can do that
all
well.
About Lucas.
So, that's Lucas for sure. So I think he would have fun in that role. Then for AJ, somebody that is nice enough and cool, but just kind of boring because of how just like, put together and like nice. Zac Efron. Just throw him in there. He's just like, I'm an artist.
I low-key can see him being really great in that.
Yeah.
Like, I like Zac Efron. Like, he so knows that he's just a pretty boy and like leans into that goofy role. So I like that a lot. That's great.
And I think, if he plays the like lovelorn, 20-something in this, I think that'd be a lot of fun to see.
Yes.
Then we got Deb, the rebellious one, so of course I had to cast Miley Cyrus in this role, which I believe Adam, the director, directed a Miley Cyrus music video back in the day as well, so he's got an in there with Miley. Then we've got Gina next, and from High School Musical 3 senior year, so knows her shit about a really bad musical type deal, Vanessa Hudgins.
Yes.
Been in a bunch of other stuff since as well, but
beautiful voice.
Great voice, and she's beautiful. Beautiful woman. She was in Journey too with The Rock as well.
Also, obviously, another Zac Efron connection, so that's probably why Zach's in the movie, because he heard that Vanessa signed on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Then we've got Mark. And again, still going with this like rock and roll fuckboy type character. Yeah. And in the world of like pop musical, that's got to be Justin Bieber. So, like if there was a pop singer that you wouldn't be surprised if you woke up and they were sleeping on your couch.
Yes.
If there was a pop singer that you wouldn't be surprised seeing in corduroys. Just like dirty, like oil stained corduroys. It's
Bieber.
It's Bieber. It's the Biebs. So that's Mark in this one. And then finally Corey, the love interest of AJ, aka Zac Efron, a singer and kind of actress, has been in at least a musical at this point. We're going with Tay Tay. Miss Taylor Swift is in here as
if
you will, as Corey.
Perfect. She's the quintessential boy drama, all of it. Love it. And shout out to Taylor Swift. I love her. Have all the boy drama you need, Tay.
And then just for fun, instead of Rex Manning, you've got Ricky Martin coming in as like the old pop sensation. Then you're good to go.
Not today. Not on Ricky Martin Day.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We can't. Not on Ricky Martin
That's
Day.
amazing. Cut to Living La Vida Loca.
Right.
Music video.
Yeah, instead of Say No More, it's like Living La Vida Loca. Like, oh yeah, I always wanted to fuck him. Like, he's gay, right? It's fine. It's fine.
He's still very pretty. That's great.
Sweet. Okay, so those are our remixes. Now we've got mashups. We've got a couple suggestions from listeners here.
Nice.
First one up is Nick suggested Office Space.
Ooh. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, is it because if it's an office that's also got records in it, I want to work at that office.
Same. Where is that office?
My office does not have any records. It's very sad. I think more so like just the Office Space or the Empire Records kind of story happening in a Mike Judge office type environment.
Yeah. The cash register becomes like the printer, the copier that everyone hates, and they take it out back and smash it with a baseball bat. That would be cool. Or like Corey's on the way to the office, like listening to gangster rap, and she has to stop and like turn it down.
Right. That it's Mark and was it Virgil? Was there Virgil? That they come up with the plan to skim money like an Office Space as a way to try to save the office from being bought out.
Is Joe going to be like Lundberg? Or is that more like the person? No, it's got to be the person that wants to take over the record store. That person's like Lundberg.
That's Lundberg for sure. Yeah. So it would be Ron Livingston would be the Joe character. Right. Just like, fuck it. That's more Lucas, I think.
I thought Lucas. Yeah. And Ron Livingston sort of looks like Rory Cochrane. So a little bit-ish.
Oh, no, there we go. The Joe character can be played by the Michael Bolton character from from Office Space. The one that's like begrudgingly in.
It fits perfectly because everyone that comes into the record store asks what his favorite Michael Bolton record is, and he just says all of them. I love all of them.
I love all of them. Yeah, perfect.
You know what? My name's Mike.
Yeah, right. Then we've got another option is from Michelle Left Eye. We've got Clerks as a mashup.
Nice. That fits.
That's a very easy mashup. Instead of the video store, you have the record store, and you've got them kind of bouncing back and forth between the convenience store and the...
Yeah. All you got to do is add Jay and Silent Bob and you're there.
Yeah, I mean, I would be not surprised at all if like they went to the convenience store to get the kegs and the beer for the party that they threw at the end of Empire Records.
They just show up.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Jay could honestly be Mark, and then Silent Bob could be his friend or whatever, and it would be just perfect.
It'd be perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then we've got, this is a challenging one, Toy Story from Jack the Dungeon Master. So Toy Story, that it was specified that the records and stuff come alive at night.
I love that. That's so fun.
So you could actually have it where the voices of the records are the singers on the albums that are coming to life.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Who do you think is beefing? It's got to be country and like rock and roll, right? No, they go together. But there's got like who? That's awesome. I love that. The employees leave and the records come to life.
It can be like underground music and popular music. It could be like
mainstream
pop
versus
singers and like pop country singers and stuff against like punk rock bands and metal bands and stuff.
Do you think it's just the like physical record, the square, like the album that comes to life, or do the actual people like become toys and animated?
The actual people,
the album, like the album cover.
Oh
like
no,
whoever,
I think
the band.
I think just the actual album,
just the record.
Just they creepily turn.
Do they
sideways.
come out of their sleeves, or does that mean they're naked?
No, that's like when they stick out their tongue. So the side of the record is actually the mouth where they just hi.
Headphones could come to life. There's so many possibilities there.
Guitars that they just like they talk with their strings.
Oh, yeah. And the employees just never know. They come back and everything is just put back alphabetically into their right slots.
You throw in a couple no stairway jokes from Wayne's World and then you're
Randy Newman doing the soundtrack.
Of course.
Gotta. Yeah.
Then
Empire. Sorry.
One more that actually ties into one of the actresses from Empire Records is that you do a mashup of Empire Records and The Craft. Terry suggested.
Oh, yes. With Robin Tunney.
Yeah. Robin Tunney doing both. And
so does someone who works at the store is a low-key witch? How do we do that?
You could actually have it that Robin Tunney is the same, is both characters.
Same character?
Yeah, same character. And that she learns the witchcraft and then she goes to Empire Records and then that whole like seance part where they're doing the funeral. It's actually like a
funeral.
It's like
actually the light as a feather, stiff as a board.
It's like one of those, and also like calling power to have them save the empire or something. With
I love that.
Powers. Yeah.
Yes. And Gina is obviously a witch. I mean, there's no way she's not.
Oh, absolutely. 100% a witch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we got our mashups here, which means we only got one thing left to do before we conclude this episode.
Buddy.
Yeah. The thing that people either love to hate or love. We're going to be doing our trailers here. So I think for mine, it's tough only because I didn't write a musical number to go with my musical version.
I love your musical numbers.
I feel like there would be something lost in the translation there if I just did an announcer voice about a musical. You know, you gotta sing some. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Donald Glover directed version myself. Now, for you, are you doing your blood splatter fest?
Oh yeah, I'm going full horror.
Okay, cool. Let me cue up the music and then we'll get going.
What do you do when your livelihood is threatened? When the jobs of you and your friends may no longer exist? Do you give up and move on? Or do you band together to damn the man and save the empire? This summer, a new spin on a 90s classic with director Donald Glover as Joe Reeves, and Danny Pudi as Lucas, Lakeith Stanfield as AJ, Zazie Beetz as Deb, Gina as Natalie Dormer, Mark, played by Shia LaBeouf. Oh, what's happening, man? And Phoebe Waller-Bridge as Corey. This summer, don't let the Panera Bread keep you down. Grab some friends, grab some brews, and let's save Empire Records.
Woo!
All right, not the worst I've done.
No,
I've done
solid.
Far worse than that, so I'm happy.
I have no idea where I'm going, so we'll see how this goes.
I'm excited for your Splatterfest personally. So. All right, here we go.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the record store, turns out there's a maniac on the loose and he hates everything you love about music. Put the needle on the record or die. In the immortal words of the Doors, the time to hesitate is through. Come through the doors. Come through the actual doors of Empire Records. Save yourself. Don't press pause. Keep going, or else you will be dead. Join Bruce Campbell as Joe, Felissa Rose as Corey, Barbara Crampton as Gina, and for some reason, Kane Hodder as Lucas as they try to band together and damn the man to hell. Empire Records, or the last track might be the last of your life.
That was wonderful. I loved that. That was fantastic. Hell yeah. I'm really glad that you came on to do Empire Records. This has been so much fun just to kind of deconstruct this movie that we're obsessed with.
I was so happy to do that. It's my first non-horror episode on the GUI Network. I'm honored.
Well, I think your first Smack My Pitch Up was the live Exorcist.
That's right.
Smack My Pitch Up. So I was like, hey,
get back to those.
Do you want to dress up as a nun, go up on stage and talk about The Exorcist?
Anytime.
You're like, cool. Yeah, no problem. So
right on. Well, thank you for inviting me to do this.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. This has been a blast.
And whenever you guys are ready, vaccinated or comfortable, just let me know and we'll do an outdoor movie or something.
Oh, we need to.
Get together.
The weather's starting to get nice. But if while people are stuck inside, there's a option for them to read your blog, listen to some podcast episodes at Nerdcropolis. If you could share the info on that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So nerdcropolis.com. Go check out some of my blog posts. And then I also have a podcast. You can catch up on some of the episodes while I'm working on new ones. I've actually gone on a Wrong Turn Odyssey. So I've watched all 6 Wrong Turn films. I've watched the new ones, and I'm planning on doing this whole compilation of ranking all those. So look forward to that. Yeah,
I've been following you on Instagram like a creep and just watching the progression of you watching, your binges that you go through. And it's always really interesting to see you just diving in. And Wrong Turn, I did not realize has like 18 sequels at this point.
They have 6 sequels. It's crazy.
Well,
7 if you include the new one. And I can't recommend in good faith that you go past number 2, but definitely check out the new one. It's great.
Is the second one the one with Henry Rollins in it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've seen that one. Well, can they find you? Is it Nerdcropolis on Instagram?
At Nerdcropolis on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. That is definitely a good way to keep track of you, is on there. Yes. You post pretty regular. So thank you so much again for being on. This has been a blast. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in, listening to another episode. Make sure to rate and review on any of the places you can do that for your podcast. You know the deal. This isn't your first show that you've listened to. And definitely tell your friends, and find us next week for another episode of Smack My Pitch Up. I'm Mike the Hobbit, and you just got pitch smacked.
GUIPodcast.com.
I don't know. They're pretty underground. You may not know this band called Vertical Horizon.
My name is Amy Bogard.
And I'm Mike the Hobbit.
And we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as, what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIPodcast.com.
Coming straight from the mouths of madness, I'm Lowdown.
I'm F.U. Hunter.
Do you love horror?
We fucking do.
So this is a podcast dedicated to all things in cinematic horror. We're talking movies, television, composers, special effects artists. We're going to fucking cover it.
So if you love horror,
embrace the madness.
Hey guys, Scotty Big Daddy Preston here. That's right, the Geek Father, asking you to join me here every other week with friends and family of the GUI Network as we go through all the trials and tribulations of being a geeky parent. So remember, join us or cry.